What's going on, housemates? Marcelo here, and there are a couple of topics I want to discuss in tonight's video. First, a little more on the Newcastle game, and then second on the transfer window. So first about the Newcastle game, looking back at my match reaction video on Tuesday night, I was very upset. I was very emotional, and I am still very upset. But obviously with time, like in most cases, you gain a little bit more perspective on your emotions and you see things a little more clearly. And ultimately, the underlying takeaway feeling from the game is nothing new, right? It's just that Arsenal does not have a killer in front of goal. We have no clinical goal scorers, at least on a consistent basis. When I looked at my predicted front three of Trossard, Jesus, and Martinelli, I was not very confident, right? Yeah, it didn't instill much faith in me. There was a bit of a surprise because Kai Havertz started instead of Jesus. But even then, Havertz has been one of those players where for a while now he hasn't looked so sharp in front of goal. Trossard has been pretty off it all season, and Martinelli's come up with a few goals. But even then, we just haven't been that good at scoring on a consistent basis, in terms of one player really taking on the responsibility. So, that game just confirmed that. We had more than 20 shots and only 3 on target. And then you think about some of those chances that we missed. Again, the Martinelli chance is not an easy chance. But that Havertz header, man, it just sums everything up when you look at Alexander Isak on the other side of the pitch and the way that he's scoring goals for fun compared to Havertz, who just never looks so comfortable in front of goal. He just doesn't look natural on the ball, And the numbers last season were promising and they were good amongst the best in Europe for strikers, but still it didn't feel necessary. I did say, to be fair, that I thought maybe we were okay on a striker, with Havertz scoring the way he was after moving into the middle, from midfield up to striker. But yeah, man, it's just not the case. Like, we desperately need a striker. Havertz is not it. I hate to say it. And again, just seeing Havertz on the right wing doing step overs and crossing to Jesus with Dan Burn and Botman in the middle, I was just like, what are we doing? This felt like 2020 Arsenal, where we had Kieran Tierney just spamming crosses all game long. Anyways, so I think the biggest frustration, though, is, on top of that, we're not going to solve that in January, in this month, to sign a big proper striker that we're talking about looking for in terms of the profile. It's just very unlikely to happen because of the money that we'd have to spend, because of how important that type of player is to their club, right? Like Isak is, the dream signing for us, but there's no world where Newcastle's going to sell Isak, let alone to another Premier League club in January. So yeah, we're gonna have to see what we come up with this window, and that transitions pretty seamlessly into the main topic of the video, which is the transfer window. Okay, Kvaratskhelia just came out that he is on the market. Napoli's willing to let him go, and PSG are the main suitors right now. But you look at a player like him, and he really is, a player that Arsenal could do with so desperately. He has, he's such a direct and technically skilled dribbler. He makes a lot of key passes. His passing is great. His finishing is also very strong, especially I think if he hits that, if he gains some momentum and rhythm in front of goal. He's proved that he's an excellent finisher and he can shoot from distance. We don't really have any players in this side who can do that. Odegaard's done it once or twice, and Saka as well, but they don't really shoot consistently from outside the box. So it's hard to say that they're really good at it, right? I mean, Ethan Nwaneri, to me, feels like our best shooter of the ball from distance, and he's injured, of course, and he's still only 17. So for me, it'd be really disappointing if Arsenal's not even, rumored to be linked to him, right? Liverpool has been linked with him. And Liverpool is flying right now. They're the best team in Europe, I think, right? But they're still being linked with one of the top creative midfielders / wingers in Europe. And that just reflects to me, or it just makes me ask the question, what are Arsenal doing? To me, if we don't sign a serious player this window, I'm not asking for £100 million player. I'm not asking for a world beater necessarily. But when you have a player like this who's on the market, you have to at least sniff around. To me, it sends a message. Arsenal is sending a message of, next season we'll get him next season. Not get Kvaratskhelia, but like we'll win some trophies next year, right? It's almost like we're writing off this season if we don't reinforce the club right now because there's still so much to play for. And Raheem Sterling is terrible. Arteta doesn't trust him at all. Trossard, I think, is well past it, and I just don't see him being an extremely impactful player unless he's back on the bench and coming in as a super sub. Martinelli, I still believe in. Saka's obviously out for months. Moneri, he's out for at least a couple of weeks, and with him being 17, I think it'd be foolish of us to give him too many more minutes this season because that's a clear sign that he's still developing physically, right? So we need a winger. We need a winger. And Kvaratskhelia is really such an ideal player for that. And I think he could play in the left eight even, right? I know we have Marino and Rice playing there, but neither of them are a creative powerhouse, right? They're not going to be generating chance after chance from open play, at least in the way that Kvaratskhelia could. And so it doesn't look like we're even, one of the main clubs that's in the race to sign him, which is so disappointing. And then you even look at Man City. They're looking to sign Marmoush from Frankfurt. And, that guy's a baller as well. He's one of the most informed goal scorers in the world right now. And, City, yes, they've hit a slump. But they still have Holland. But in part because they're in a slump, they're like, oh, we need to sign someone who can reinvigorate our attack and give us some more energy when we're down. So it's just like, Arsenal, what are we doing, man? I know it's still only the ninth. Well, no, it's not only the ninth. We're almost a third of the way through January now. So it's like, we don't have that much time, man. Because a lot of these, any transfer really, it takes longer than people think they do, of course, because there's so much paperwork, there's so many parties involved, there's so much money involved. So it's just, yeah, man, we don't have that much time to continue dilly-dallying and waiting for the perfect signing and blah, blah, blah. No. If we want to show that we're serious about the season, if we want our players to know that we are serious about the season and for them to be motivated again, we need to bring someone in. Because that's another thing about a signing. Yes, obviously it makes your starting 11 stronger, blah, blah, blah. But it also shows your players that, their job is not safe. And it keeps players motivated on their toes, fighting for their place in our squad. So January is always a much harder window to sign players in. And I know that. So I'm not just, blindly saying we have to spend all this money in this window. It's never that simple. But when you're in a position that we're in with the unlucky, unhealthy, ill-disciplined start to the season we've had, you got to inject some new life into the scene. So, I'm not really here right now to talk about other names we've been linked with because this is a pretty big piece of news for a player like Kvaratskhelia to be on the market. So hopefully Arsenal show that they're serious, whether it's with Kvaratskhelia or another player soon. We'll find out, and I'll make another video soon, hopefully talking about some tangible, concrete rumors linking us to a top player, because that's all we can afford right now. So I'll leave it at there for now, but I hope you're having a great week wherever you're watching from around the world, and make sure that you follow me on TikTok and keep an eye out for my YouTube shorts. I'm really starting to step up the content this year, as I mentioned already. So I hope you're enjoying it. If you've seen it, if you haven't, go check it out. I'll put the link in the description of this video. So I'll talk to you all soon, housemates. Come on, you Gunners. Peace.